Hello and good evening out there in podcast land, ladies and gentlemen. I am your humble host, the ghost host with the most, Mr. Dennis Carroll, and this is another episode coming straight at you of Hunting the Shadows. We need to buckle up, buckle down, and buckle in tonight, okay? We've got an interesting show ahead of us. Did a fantastic show with my very good friend, the Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones, today. If you missed it, go check it out. We turned those casket girls every which way but loose. Okay, so go check it out. The Casket Girls of New Orleans. Absolutely. Want to welcome you all here tonight. Yes, I got a little something different going tonight. You can see your comments, okay, on the live screen there. So keep an eye on that, okay? And I think this may be for members only. I'm not sure about that, but we'll see. Anyway, um, I hope you can see them. I'm looking at them, but I've got something special planned for you tonight. A little impromptu symposium that we're going to have here tonight. A little bit of a symposium. And before we get into the dark and dire legends of the Appalachians, we're going to be talking about that tonight. Appalachia and the legends of Appalachia. One of the most interesting places on this planet, folks. Absolutely. And I live in the foothills of the Appalachians. So I know what goes on. Dark forests at night, definitely. And in the shadows that are out there. And we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. And actually saw it live, Blue Eyed Bandit. Okay. All right. And are you all seeing your comments? Let me know if you're not seeing your comments on the screen there, okay? But you should be able to see them. All right. And this is something new that StreamYard has got started out here. Thank you, Girl Nagong. Thank you, dear. That's the link for the show there. If you missed it, it will also be on my library. It's on Jessica's library. Either which way you want to go at it. Check it out. So, yeah, I've got something special in store for you tonight. Just a few little things we're going to talk about. I'm going to do this later. Let's say this is impromptu tonight, okay? I'm going to do this later with a better setup. I'm going to have a table, a dedicated camera to it, and all that. But right now, I just wanted to run through a few things with you and talk about that. Now, I want to give all of you a warning tonight, okay? And I want you to listen very closely to what I'm telling you. This weekend is not going to be a good weekend for you to be in large crowds. I would suggest you stay home this weekend and get some other things done. And like maybe also even polish your gun and get your ammo out just in case, okay? I'm not going anywhere with that. I'm just going to leave it on the table for you here and see what you think about that statement. But this would not be a good weekend to really let your guard down, okay? I have heard certain things. I've heard some things that are going down. So it might be a good idea to be aware of this, okay? You know, your old Dennis isn't a werewolf, okay? And I like to keep my fellow shadow hunters, my wolf tribe, and you are my wolf tribe, okay? You are my wolf tribe 100%, okay? And I like to try to take care of my wolf tribe and my wolf tribe of shadow hunters. And that's what you are. So listen very carefully in between the lines tonight, okay? There's a lot I cannot come out straightforward and say, but just be aware. Okay? Things may get a little weird, a little wild before this is all over. Absolutely. But I got a few things I'm going to share with you tonight. And, you know, I've talked about this before in the past. And I call it, you know, a little bit of a class on survivability. Your survivability is a very, very important thing. Okay, the most important thing of all, because it helps you survive. It helps you live. And survivability comes in many different forms. Learning about things and how to use them is one of the things about survivability that we all need to always keep our knife sharpened on. Okay. A knife, my dear friends, is not good to you one lick if it's not sharp. Okay. So let's keep our knives sharp, if you know what I mean. Okay. So, anyway, with that said and out of the way, I want to bring up some items I want to make you aware of, and some things that I think, there's just some light on the subject here. Okay. Woo, that's bright. All right. A few things I want to share with you. First off, something very, very important item here, which is a mini Sawyer mini water purifier. Okay. This will help you. You got to have water to live, folks. Okay. But if you drink the wrong water, it can kill you too. All right. You got to have something like this right here to filter your water out. Now, I'm talking about gallons of water, not just a water bottle. You know what I'm saying? You got to do this with gallons of water. This is the baby right here. Very cheap. You can buy this on Amazon for, I think, around $12. And then, believe me, what's $12 with your life is involved in it, okay? But that's called the Sawyer Mini Water Filtration System, okay? I'm going to hold that up for you to see that. And this is you got to pack this in your pack, okay? You got to pack it. Now, you will not keep the box. I've just kept the box for show purposes, but the box does tell you can go up to 100,000 gallons with this baby right here before it wears out. 100,000 gallons. Think about that. That's a lot of water, okay? So anyway, this is something you definitely need to pack in your go bag there, okay? Absolutely. And another thing I want to show you and make you familiar with, you got to have a way to cook, okay? Now, this is a good little thing here. This is the pot that you can boil water in. It's serenaded. It tells you exactly how many ounces are on it. You get these on Amazon very cheap, too. Of course, it has a fold-down handle, and it has a pop-up top on it, and you got cups in there. You got other bowls. It comes in a kit. It's a cook kit that you can get to put in your let me get this down here. To put in your pack, okay? And it's very important. I got that down to show you. That's the way you would hold it on the fire so you don't burn yourself or anything like that. So that's the way that works. It is a great little item to have in your backpack because you're going to have a way to boil water, to do some rudimentary kind of equipment for cooking. And that's where this little baby right here comes in. Well, first of all, I want to show you this. This is a little stove. You get these very inexpensive, okay? You can use this stove in several different ways, and you can use this to cook with. It's just like a hobo stove, okay? That's what it basically is. You can cook and boil water on this thing with either wood or alcohol or something else I've got here to show you. This is very important that you can pack in your to-go bag, okay? In your go bag. And that is this little job right here. This is made by Fire Dragon, okay? And it is solid fuel. These little things come in a thing like this right here. Solid fuel. You light this little baby up and you can cook away with it. So you don't need to worry about getting wood and all that. This baby will light in rain, okay? And it will burn a long, long time under your stove. So you can cook and boil water. And it is called Fire Dragon, eco-friendly. And also, if you're not using it, here's an interesting thing. If you don't use it to cook with, you can use this to wash your hands with. This is made with alcohol, ethanol, actually. Ethanol. So you can use it as a hand cleanser as well. Okay? And you can get these things in a pack of about 6. There's 6 of them in a pack. And you can get these on Amazon as well. Now, it's Fire Dragon. That's the name of it. And it's got the little dragon like on it. Now, you would put that under something like this thing right here. I want to show you this right quick, folks. This is something from World War II. And of course, the old stuff is absolutely still the best. Okay? But it has a little cup with it, and all of this, I'm going to show you in a minute, it goes on the bottom of your canteen. Your canteen goes in this thing, but this is also a cooking utensil, and it's got this little job that goes on the bottom. Make sure I got it right way. It goes on the bottom, and you can cook under it. You can build a little fire under it, and this goes on there to cook water and boil water or whatever. It is another little hobo stove like. Now let me show you what this thing looks like when it's packed and ready to go in your canteen. Okay, this is the canteen, and this little job fits right down in the canteen holder, and the rest of this goes with it. Your canteen goes in this part here. And all of that packs, you can wear it on your side. You got a stove, you got something to cook with, you got water in one place. So this was a very popular item back in World War II, and these are still available, folks. They can't improve on this design because it is combat tested and rugged and ready to go. Okay. If you don't have one of these little babies, you need to think about acquiring one. Now, I think you can get them for around $30, and believe me, it's worth every penny because this baby doesn't take up so much room. You can wear it on your side. It doesn't have to go in your your pack and weigh your pack down. And of course, it all goes back together again and fits down in this thing when you're finished. That's the way it goes. It all goes together and back down in here and on your side, ready to go for the next adventure. Very handy to have. Very important that you have that to go with. Okay. I want to show you one more thing here. That it's now this is a little bit heavy for me. I don't think I wouldn't. You could leave this back at camp. You don't want to walk around with it in your pack. But this is, of course, a mess kit. Now the mess kit's got in the center of it, it's got a fork, a knife, and a spoon. And you can cook in this thing, and you can also eat out of it like a plate. That is very essential to have too. This is just a regular mess kit. You can get these cheap. But like I say, they're kind of a little bit heavy. So like I say, you might want to leave that back at the camp if you're out wandering around, walking around something. But they are very good items to have. Now, these things that I've showed you tonight are just a few of the things that, you can have for your survivability. Okay. And one other thing to have around, definitely have your cross handy. I always have mine hanging up right here just in case. But anyway, think about that because you need to be prepared, okay? And prepared for any kind of contingency or anything that may go down and happen. We need to be ready for it, okay? Those work great with a Dakota fire hose. Yes, you can make a Dakota fire hose with that. I'll have to show you how to do that one day. That's always good too. But even if you don't have time, these things were tested and tried in combat fields, folks, and under very extreme and dangerous, rugged conditions, and they work. And that's the reason I'm going to tell you. You know the secret of Dennis Carroll. I don't tell you something that don't work. Okay. I don't want to mess with anything that's not going to work for you. And it's not going to do the job of what needs to be done. I want the right stuff, and I want it used right, and I want it for the right purposes. And that's where these things come along. I bought a bunch of survival necessities years back. My house was good on that. That's good, Blue-Eyed Bandit, because we have, like I said on Jessica's show today about vampires, we need to always have a leg up in the saddle on all this kind of stuff. We need to be ready. We need to be ready to ride at a moment's notice on this stuff and get it ready and be familiar with it, how it works, how it operates, and what we do with it. It's very important and very, very essential that we have this kind of stuff going on. Yes, I will be on Aquarius Rising tomorrow at 1 o'clock p.m., and I will be talking about another important thing about your survivability, and that is spiritual safety. I've had a lot of people ask me about this spiritual safety and stuff, so I wanted to do a show on it again and get across to the things you can do to keep yourself spiritually safe under certain circumstances. And it's very well needs to be known. Hello, Danette. Good to have you here. And but one thing we've got to understand about this, folks. Okay, the greatest weapon you have of all. What is that? It's not your knife. It's not your gun. It's not your hatchet or your axe. It's this thing right here. This is what will make or break you, my friends. And if you're ready and you have the knowledge and you can apply that knowledge, one thing it's a completely different thing to know something, but to be able to apply it is the main thing. To know it is good. You got to have the knowledge, but you need to know how to apply it, how it works, how to do it. So that's where rehearsal comes in at. Okay. If you've got stuff like this, take it out in the backyard one day and use it. Don't just leave it sitting in a bag somewhere and let it get dusty. Take it out and use it. Become familiar with it. Understand how it works. Your survival depends upon that. Okay? Very much so. And I will stress again before we go on to other subjects tonight. Please be very, very careful this weekend. Every weekend you need to be, but this weekend in particular, okay? Because there are certain things, I think, certain things that are in play this weekend that haven't been before. And there are some things I think are going to go down. And I can't say a lot about that, but I can say this. You got a leg up now. Get in that saddle and ride. Okay? Be careful. Be aware. I mean, what's going on. And like I say, I'm staying in this weekend myself. Okay? I'm not getting in any large crowds. I'm not going anywhere or anything like that. So that's my advice for you this weekend. I'm not trying to tell you and scare you and get you to live in fear, folks. That's not what I'm doing. But there is a fine line between safety and being scared. Okay, let's not go over into being scared. Scared will immobilize us. Okay, we don't want to be immobilized. We want to understand what our safety is, the things we can go to preserve ourselves. That's what we want to concentrate on. If you let fear take over your life, it cuts down on your ability to do this. So do not go that route. Do not go down that road of fear. Okay. What I'm telling you tonight, and other people are telling you, is you just need to be cautious, be careful, be aware. Okay. That's the main thing. Okay. Be aware, be cautious, be careful, and know that there may be stuff going on that you don't know about. Okay. And they can work in different ways against us. So we have to be very careful. Okay. Let that sink in. All right. But I just wanted to run over a few of those things with you. I had them in my bag here, and I wanted you to share those with you. And I will do a more comprehensive symposium on it one day. I will get it all down and take it apart piece by piece on a table with a dedicated camera to it to show you. It's one thing to tell somebody something, but it's better if you can show them. They learn better that way, of course. And I definitely want you to learn, my fellow shadow hunters. I want you to learn and be ready for things and life's contingencies, whatever may come down the line. And we don't know what's coming down that line. But from this point, it don't look good. Okay. So be aware of that. All right. And then I'm gonna see in feet fried green tomatoes. There you go, Kyle. That sounds like a good plan, brother. All right. Absolutely. And if I were up that way, I would definitely stop in and help you with those. Okay. But anyway, let's just be aware and be careful. That's the main thing. Not be scared. We don't want to live in fear. We don't want to shake in our boots for no reason. That's where your enemy gets you. Okay. We don't want to play that game with the enemy. This is like a chess game. We want to make smart moves, not stupid moves. Stupid moves lose you the game. Smart moves will help you win it. And that's what we want to concentrate on. Okay? All right. But I hope you have all had a great week. And like I said, we had a great show with Jessica today. Go check it out if you missed that. And the day Monday, we had a great show about werewolves. So check that one out too. That was great. We always have a fun time together when we get together and come up with some of this stuff. She is a superb researcher. I always, am thrilled to see what she's coming up with next. She's brilliant, brilliant, absolutely. So anyway, check that out if you haven't had a chance. And yes, I will be on Aquarius Rising tomorrow. And I think that interview was released today that I did with Miami Ghost Chronicles Midnight Mysteries. And I think it was released, and I'm going to try to get the link for that up and let everybody watch that. That was a fantastic show that I did with Michelle in Miami Ghost Chronicles. Great show. Check it out. And I will try to have the link up for that as well. So, yes, I have been incredibly busy here lately. And but that's okay. I like to be busy. All right. Keeps me on my toes. Keeps me out of trouble most of the time. But sometimes that darn trouble comes looking for me. That's the way it goes. I can kind of keep a low profile, but it doesn't work sometimes. All right. But I need to check on my good friend Bigfoot Dwarf out there in L.A. La La Land, whatever you want to call it. I call it the City of Lost Angels. Some of them are definitely lost, my friends. Very, very much so, unfortunately. I'll have to check with him, see what's going on out there. Hoping he's keeping his head now and staying out of trouble there. There's a machete. And Wizard Moon, hello. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to talk tonight a little bit about the legends of Appalachia. It's a fascinating place, the Appalachians, and we have talked about it before. I'm going to tell you something about this. I'm going to make a statement right now. It's going to probably make some people mad, but I got to make it. I got to say it anyway. Skinwalkers ain't got nothing on Appalachian witches, okay? They don't even have anything on the granny witches, okay? Now, the granny witches, I'm going to tell you something about the granny witches, okay? They're the old women of wisdom of the mountains, okay? They know the roots to give you. They know the things to do. They know how to talk fire out of you and help you if you got burned or whatever. They know all this stuff. I don't know if you're familiar with that talking fire out of people, but it's supposed to be a biblical passage that they pass down to each generation. And a woman has to give it to a man, and a man has to give it to a woman. That's the way it goes. And you can't be related to whoever you give it to. You pass this knowledge, this secret knowledge down. And to be able to supposedly talk the fire out of someone means it keeps them from blistering if they've been burnt or their meat's almost cooked on the bone. You might say, this supposedly has very high healing properties and will take the redness and the blistering and stuff out of fire injuries. And it's called talking the fire out. That's what they talk about. That's what they call it. They may have some other names too, but that's what I've always heard it called. And there were women in my family supposedly that could do this. Okay. And it's a very interesting thing. It's an interesting piece of research. If you've never looked into it, you might want to. But it is very biblically based too thing. It is very highly connected to the Word of God in the Bible. It's very interesting. And it sounds always like witchcraft, does it not? But this is not sorcery and witchcraft. This is the wisdom of old wise women, especially the mothers, the grannies, the things that they knew, and the roots, the herbs that they could take that would make you feel better if you had a bad stomach or whatever the situation was. You could go to a granny witch for help. But they were not witches, really, in the sense of being a witch, folks, okay? They were just women with a lot of wisdom, very smart women that knew how to apply that wisdom. Remember what I said earlier? You can learn all the wisdom in the world, but if you don't learn how to apply it, it's not going to do you any good. And these women knew how to do that. Okay. And they also had another way, supposedly, to stop bleeding along the same lines of the talking the fire thing. They could stop bleeding, supposedly. If you had a very bad cut or severed an artery or something, they supposedly could say a few words over that from a Bible passage or whatever, and it would stop the bleeding. I'm not making this stuff up now, okay? I have seen some of this stuff happen, and it is true. It does really go down that way, but it's not what you would call out and out witchcraft. Now, the witchcraft is usually a completely different thing. And like I've said before about witchcraft, witchcraft is not a religious belief. It is a profession. You got to remember that. It's very important. It's a profession, okay? And it can be like any profession, it can be used for good or for bad. The only time you mostly hear about witchcraft is when it's being used for bad purposes, okay? When it's being used against people for bad things. And that's the only time mostly you hear it. It's like news that you hear on the media today. You don't hear anything much about the good news, the things that's happening in the world. You only hear about the bad news going down, you know. But the root doctors were granny witches, same thing. They also were called hoodoo men or women. They had a lot of different names. And they could, and it's not only went into people, they could do this with animals. Certain of these hoodoo men and women supposedly could even talk to animals. You've heard of the horse whisperers, right? They supposedly could talk to animals and communicate with animals and all that. I think a lot of these people, not being witches, were really psychic in many ways. They had certain psychic abilities and they knew how to use them. And that's what made them so very effectual in the things that they done. They knew how to use what it was they could do. And they got the reputation, sooner or later, people started coming to you on a regular basis. It's like a doctor, And I want to tell you something. This is my own personal opinion, okay? Back in the day, I think I would have felt better going to these people than a real full blown doctor, okay? Because some of those doctors back in the day, they would bleed you. I mean, literally bleed you to death, thinking that they were bringing your fever down by letting blood out of your system and all this other crazy crap. And here's the weird part about this. I want you to think about this. Here's a sad thing to think about, okay? Think of all of the arms and legs and lives that were lost in the Civil War because they never had sense enough to pour alcohol on the wound. They would drink it all day long, but never could think about pouring it on the wound, which would have saved a lot of lives and a lot of limbs. That's how just stupid the medical profession was back in the day, folks. Okay, so you see why I would probably go with the granny witches. Okay, they knew more, I think. Well, yeah, you had more of a. I'll put it this way: you had a better chance of recovery with them than you did with a doctor. Absolutely. Mustard greens for burns, and mustard will also help. Yeah, mustard. I have actually put mustard on burns. Yeah, it does work. But see, this knowledge is all important to know that you do the things, like, the drink the dandelion wine, the mullein that grows wild is supposed to be very good for your kidneys and for your actual whole digestive system. The list goes on, and many books have been written about this stuff. This knowledge is still with us, okay? But a lot of people, especially doctors, don't want anything to do with it. They do not. They practice their own brand of stuff. They don't want anything to do with that. And I have heard doctors many times badmouth supplements and things like that when I don't think they're coming from the wrong scientific point of view. And like I said earlier in this program, if it works, I want to do it. Don't you? If it works, I want to do that. But doctors, they don't see it that way. If it's not in a book, they can read about it. And if it's not other doctors don't like it, they don't like it. They are a very closed society in many ways, folks. The medical profession is. They're closed down on themselves. They only believe what the other doctors say or the other nurses say about something. They're very closed. They don't have any outside influences at all. And that's not good. I don't care what kind of science or medicine you're practicing. When you close yourself off like that, you're not doing anybody any good, and you certainly aren't doing yourself any good by not learning some of these things that you need to know. Okay? But that's the way it goes with the doctors. Okay, absolutely, it's been that way for a long time. And Girl and her Gong and people like her, they know what I'm talking about. They have dealt with the medical profession, and these guys, they wear the blinders 24/7, don't they? Right, Girl and her Gong? Absolutely. Most doctors only want to whoever treat and not heal. Absolutely, because there's more money in it. There's more money in treating than healing. Okay? No doctor is ever going to pat you on the back and tell you, hey, don't ever come back again. Don't come back to see me anymore. They're not going to do that. They can't make money that way. Okay? No. And yeah, the doctors don't listen to the nurses. No, no, no. Everybody's got their opinion. And most of the time, their opinion ain't worth diddly squat. You know what I mean? Really. They think they know so much and they're so smart and I'm going to tell you something about doctors and nurses. They are human beings, people, just like you and me. They make mistakes, okay? But the point is, when they make mistakes, it can cost you your life. That's the problem. Cat's claws, excellence for arthritis. Yeah, I've heard that. But see, doctors don't want to talk about that kind of stuff. Well, yeah. But like I just said, if it helps you, if it does something good for you, why not do it? You know, just because you can't, I tell you why they don't like it. You can't write a prescription and make money off of it. That's why they don't like it. That's the number one reason right there, folks, to be honest with you. They can't write a prescription and make money on it because not only are they writing prescriptions, they're getting kickbacks from other doctors. If I was a doctor and Girl Gone was a doctor, I would send her patients, she would send me patients. We'd be both making money. We'd be happy with that kind of arrangement, wouldn't we? That's the way they work. They call it professional courtesy. I call it scamming people, actually. That's basically what it is. Come on, that's what it is, Yeah, cat's claw is a plant. Yeah, it's hey, the mullein I talked about earlier. It grows wild too, and it has a very beautiful flower on it and a very long stalk. It looks almost like a cornflower. It's very pretty. It grows in the wild. It's very essential. Of course, the dandelions. You know all about dandelions. They have many different purposes for it. A lot of these. The thistles and all that. I mean, the list is on and on. The stuff that a lot of people don't realize. The ancient Egyptians had aspirins. Did you know that? And then you know where aspirins originally came from? The bark of the willow tree. That's where you get aspirins, folks. Bark of the willow tree. But if somebody hadn't been smart enough to do that, you wouldn't have aspirins. Okay. The doctors don't recognize stuff like that, though. We call it holistic healing, and that's what the granny witches were into, okay? Because there were certain other ways other than the medical profession to heal things set that way. So it's very holistic in the way they do that. But now there is a bad side to that holistic thing, folks, okay? Because a lot of people have scammed people by making it look like they took tumors out of them, and they do that without what they call bloodless surgery that they do, and a lot of this stuff is a scam. Okay, they're just doing this to get money down the line or whatever from. You got to be very careful who you're dealing with in certain instances like that. There's a lot of scam artists out there doing that kind of stuff. A lot of people that claim to be psychic who are not. They're up to kind of stuff like that. So you have to be very careful. There is a dark side to a lot of this stuff. You cut down a little tree, all you can smell is a cat. Yeah, it has that smell to it. Also the dark arts of poisonous plants. Oh, absolutely. That's the dark side too. Some of these plants can do bad things, and this is where it falls over into the spell category of witchcraft. Okay, because witchcraft is tied up in a whole lot of learning plants and what certain plants can do, like the belladonna and the nightshade and so on. It's very interesting to note that, the potato is part of a nightshade family. You can eat its tumor, cut you in fries, tomatoes all the time, potatoes, but you better not try to eat its flower. That will kill you. Okay, that's the way the potato plant is. It is akin to the nightshade. A lot of people don't know that, but let me tell you something else that's wild about that. There are other plants when connected with other plants. When you combine them with other plants, they do other things as well. We do know without a doubt that deep in voodoo, they have the pufferfish poison that they use to create zombies with. Let me tell you something about zombies right quick, and I'm not going to get into that night. That's a show for another time myself. But an actual real zombie brought back from the dead is demonic. Most of the time, 90% of the time, the zombies that you see brought back never really died to begin with. Okay? They're not raising them from the dead. Okay? No power on this planet has the ability to bring somebody back from the dead except God, folks. Okay? He's the only one who can do that. He is the master of life and death. These bokors and witch doctors and all the rest of these guys, they don't have that power. All right? They can make it look like they do. But what did I just say earlier about these flim flam people? Okay? Don't believe everything you see. They are very good at their illusions. They're like magicians, okay, in that respect. Illusionists like David Copperfield or somebody. They can make you see, believe things that aren't necessarily true. That's the way they operate. And these bokors make it look like they're bringing somebody back from the dead, but they never really truly died. Now, there is a zombie that is dead. He is a reanimated body, reanimated by a demonic spirit. That is a real 100% zombie. And by the way, they don't eat people. Okay, they don't go around eating people. That's Hollywood. Don't forget about that, y'all. But the real zombies are actually, the real honest to God zombies are actually reanimated corpses being moved and animated by demonic spirits that are infesting the corpse. Nobody has died and come back from the dead in this instance, folks. That's the way that works. And it's very important that you know that God is the only one that brings people back from that veil. Nobody else. Satan can't do it. They can make it look like he did. Don't you understand? And that's where a lot of witchcraft comes in on that. A lot of witchcraft can make you believe things that aren't necessarily true. That's what it's about. But it's working off of your beliefs. If they come up to curse you, they want to let you know without a doubt that you got a curse on you. So it starts working in your mind and it becomes a self-fulfilling thing. That's the psychological part of witchcraft. That's the way it works. They're never going to curse you or put a spell on you without some way or another letting you know they did that. So that it starts working on your mind. Okay? That's the insidious part of witchcraft. Now, the Appalachian witches, though, some of them definitely had satanic power. They could turn into these large black cats. And I'm not talking about house cats. I'm talking about black panther-looking things, jaguars. They could turn into these things better than skinwalkers, okay? They were very much like skinwalkers. And that's what a skinwalker is. You hear that word day after day. Skinwalker, skinwalker, skinwalker. Okay, skinwalker ain't nothing, my friends, but a witch. They can shapeshift. That's all they are. And you find skinwalkers everywhere. But we just don't call them skinwalkers. What do we call them? Witches. That's what they are, okay? They can be African witches. They can be Eskimo witches. They can be European witches. They can be Navajo witches. Whatever the situation, they're still witches. They're using witchcraft. And they're shape-shifting. That's what's going on with this. And like I said before, one of the darkest powers that witchcraft can obtain is the ability to shapeshift and also to control people's minds. And that's what we talked about today on Justice Show a little bit, about the glamour, the illusionist glamour of the vampire. He can get you to see what exactly he wants you to see. That is dangerous, folks. Do you want to be used like that? I don't want to be used like that. No. I want to know that what I'm actually seeing is the real thing and not what somebody else wants me to see. But that's the way the vampire is, so insidious, and so insidious the way he works in that resort. That's why his power is mesmerizing when he stares you in the eyes and puts those eyes on you. Don't look at them, whatever you do. Don't look him in the eyes. That's where his power is. That's where the darkness of his soul resides, in the eyes. Don't ever forget that, my friends. And that is also where the power of the soul of the witch also is found. The eyes are everything. Okay. And it is supposed to be one of the remedies that you can do against witches and witchcraft is to put a mirror on them. They don't like to look at themselves in mirrors. They don't want to see that mirror. That mirror shows them what they truly are. And it does things to them. It sends that power of their eyes back on them. And it can mess them up really good. So that's why they don't like mirrors. That's another reason why they don't like mirrors. It reflects the soul back to what's to come, or the power from which it comes. It does that. It has that ability. So I have told people over the years, one good thing you want to always walk around with is a nice little small mirror somewhere. Okay, it's a very essential thing to have. You never know when something like that, my friends, may come in very, very handy to have. Okay, because there are a lot of entities like vampires, demons, witches. They don't like those mirrors. Okay. And I always find it very interesting that Walt Disney connected the Wicked Witch with the mirror. You know, mirror, mirror on the wall. You know, who's the fairest one of all? Okay, she had her own mirror, but there was a demon in that mirror. Okay, it was not your regular kind of mirror that you walk up and look at yourself. She wasn't looking at herself. She was connecting to and talking with a demon in that mirror. Okay, you got to remember that. That's where that's coming from. Okay, so anyway. Disney didn't connect that part up for the kids, but that's there. Absolutely. So we gotta remember that the witch's power is all important to her, and it's in her eyes, and it's also though in her knowledge as well. The things that she can do, the herbs she can mix, the poisons she can get you to take. That can make you love somebody, fall in love, or hate somebody, or get revenge on somebody, or murder somebody. Whatever the situation is, she was able to do these things. She knew how to cast the spells to do it. But spells always have not only an invocation on them, that's saying something, saying words over them, but they also have ingredients that go in. The ingredients are all important. You don't have a spell without ingredients, folks. Okay, and that's where witchcraft comes in. Know what kind of ingredients to put in that spell to get things done. Remember the very famous scene from Macbeth. You know, double double, boil in trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. Eye of a newt and toad of a frog, wool of a bat and tongue of a dog. These are the ingredients they use in their spells to get these bad things done. They're dealing with the dark side of nature itself to do this stuff. But yeah, we got to remember this is the basis of where this dark witchcraft comes from. This is the basis a lot of times of what they're doing, and that's why it's dark witchcraft. You never hear about the so-called good witches, okay? Because there are not a lot of witchcraft being used to do good, unfortunately. And when you do hear about it, it's usually the bad side and not the good side of it. There are supposedly white witches, but I have to wonder about that too, because are you using bad things to try to do good things? That's redundant, that just does not work out. Like I talked about the hounds of hell in the Catholic Church, supposedly. How could you use something as evil as werewolves to try to do something good? That's not going to work out right, folks. No matter what way you look at it, it's not going to come out good. And that is not a good thing to play around with. The power of Satan and evil is not going to let you use their power for anything good. Okay? As Jesus said in the Bible very plainly, a house divided cannot stand. Satan is not going to let his house be divided. He's smarter than that. He's not gonna work against himself in any way. No, 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 no. He's gonna always work for himself. That's the smart thing to do. Makes sense when you think about it. Okay. Why would you want to divide your house? You'll never win that way. That's a losing strategy on the chessboard of life. Okay. Don't ever go that way. You can't use and abuse your own self and think you get away with it. Yes, we do have the love and the understanding and the care of who we are and the armor that we must wear. The armor of light, my friends, is what will protect you and keep you safe in these certain circumstances. They don't have that going for them. And the spells that they cast, the evil that they do, the bad things that the intentions, it all comes back on them eventually, sooner or later. It will destroy them. That's the way evil works. Evil is a two-way street of destruction. You send it out, but you get it back too. And that's just the way it works. That's the price you pay for playing around with the darkness. Okay, that's the price you'll always pay. So you have to be very, very careful how you approach these things. And witches know that, and they will tell you, if I cast a spell for you, then you got to own some of it. Some of it comes back to you too. And you got to agree to that or they won't do it. Okay? And if you don't agree, they won't do the spell work for you. So you got to understand that what you're doing to this person or people is going to come back on you. A little bit of it's going to come back, and you better be ready to be prepared to accept that. And if you don't want to do that, most witches don't want to cast a spell for you. That's just the way that works because they're going to get some of it back too. They're the spellcasters. They're going to pay a price as well. That's just the way evil works. Goodness, on the other hand, don't do that. Goodness don't have to worry about anything like that. Okay? But what you, is the good book says, the bread you cast upon the waters will come back to you tenfold. It can be good bread or it can be bad bread. Okay? When you do something good, I mean, out of the goodness of your heart with good intentions, you get that back. You're going to get a good result back from that. But if you do something evil with bad intentions to hurt or harm someone or destroy something, don't think you're going to get away with that. You're going to get some of that back too. You're going to get that negativity back. Sometimes a whole lot more than you think. In many ways, in different ways than you think. That's just the way it works. That is a fundamental spiritual law of this universe, by the way. What goes out comes back. And if it went out bad, it's going to come back bad. And if it goes out good, it's going to come back good. Like I says, don't be burning bread. Yep, that's right. Yeah, the jinx. My ex left a small piece of mirror with a blue black tint that shows demons in seconds. Can see shadows in it. I would not keep that around. I would not keep that on around. That night needs to be broken into 1,000 pieces and thrown in the stream and let it be washed away. That's how you deal with bad mirrors, by the way. You have to break them into 1,000, as many small pieces, almost powderize them, and then throw them in a running stream that supposedly will run the evil out of them. Just be careful when you're doing that. Don't get any glass in your eye. But yeah, and a lot of this witchcraft is connected to sound and chants and words. Words have power, folks. You've heard me talk about that before. Words have power to hurt, to help, to kill, destroy, or they have words. There's words of life as well. We've got to understand the words are very important in the spells, not just the ingredients. The witches know this very well. They speak the words that turn them into these big black panthers that roam the hills and mountains of the Appalachians. I've tracked them. I've seen their tracks. They are real. They are out there. A lot of people have come to me that have seen them. People who, they had no reason to lie that have seen these things. They have seen them actually take place. One very famous Twilight Zone episode I remember well was called Jezebel. And it was about a witch in the Appalachians, and she could turn into one of these cats and kill people and do stuff to them. She could turn into a spider. She could do stuff. If you've never seen the episode, you need to do yourself a favor and watch it. Jezebel. It was the very famous Anne Francis was Jezebel in it, and um, the guy played Roscoe Coltrane on the Dukes of Hazzard. I can't think of his name, but he was in it as well. He was in the old Twilight Zone episode. Great Twilight Zone episode. But it shows you what the effects of witchcraft can do and how it eventually can turn on you and teach you the bad part of that lesson. And that's the way Jezebel went. So yeah, check it out sometime if you ever get a chance to watch it. It's very interesting. But that story, by the way, was written by Earl Hamner, the same man who created the Waltons, by the way. And of course, he had heard about these stories of the Appalachian witches and the things they could do. They are skinwalkers, if you want to call them that. I call them witches. That's what they basically are. Whatever name you want to give them, whatever title, they still remain to be witches. They can shapeshift. That's what they are. And they don't only shapeshift into wolves and coyotes and ravens. They can also change into horses. They can change into cattle. They can change into goats, supposedly. If you ever seen that movie, The Witch, there is a very famous evil goat in that movie named Philip, Black Philip. And he is a evil looking goat, folks. I don't know why, but he is just downright evil. He's solid black as soot, with these long horns on him. He looks downright mean. I hear he's living a good life on a farm in North Carolina. But anyway, he retired with all of his Hollywood gains. But anyway, um, Black Phillip would talk, would supposedly talk. He had a demon in him, I guess, to this girl in the movie that became the witch. Um, do you want? He would always ask her, "Do you want to have a fun time? Do you want to do delightful things?" He was always bringing out the power that she could have to become a witch. That's the way the devil works with these things. Now, I talked about this the other day, and it does bear repeating, I guess. And I'm trying to get this across to some people to understand. We talked about this before, but when you pledge allegiance to Satan, Almighty Satan, as he likes to call himself, when you pledge allegiance to him, sign the contract in your blood and sell your soul, then you have to give the devil a kiss. And where you kiss the devil is definitely where you do not want to put your mouth, folks, okay? But there's a certain part of the devil you must kiss to seal the deal. And then he will turn around and slap you in the face in reply for the kiss. And that's where you get the black eye club at. You see these people walking around with black eyes for no reason? I gotta wonder about that. Are they really members of the real black eye club? To become a member of the Black Eye Club, you definitely have to sell your soul. You've been trafficking with Satan, definitely. And that's where the Black Eye Club comes from. How does anyone know they're non human? Well, if you didn't have a soul, you would know it because you become dehumanized. In other words, you lose feelings for other people. You don't feel for anybody but yourself. You become 110% narcissistic to the max. You don't feel pleasure in anything. You don't have a soul anymore. You're not human anymore. You're not going to feel that. But here's the bad thing about it. Most of the people in that kind of condition, my friend, don't realize they are. And they like that. They want to be that way. Don't you understand? That's the way the darkness works in these certain circumstances. It gets you, changes you so that you love the darkness and hate the light. You love the bitter and not the sweet. You love what's wrong and not what's right. It changes you completely, fundamentally, mentally, and spiritually as well. That's what the darkness does to you. It's like a cancer eating your soul up until there's no soul left to eat anymore. When you have lost your soul completely, you're no longer human. You are a lost soul. You are doomed Double damned and doomed, as the old people used to say. You are gone. There's probably usually no coming back from that situation. That's why there is written over the gates of hell, abandoning all hope, ye who enter here. You have lost all hope when you go that far, my friends. That's why we warn people, don't go over into that darkness. Stay away from that darkness. Fight that darkness. Don't let it into your life. You don't want to go down that dark road because there usually ain't no coming back. I got pee. But that's what we got to understand. That's what the Appalachian witches teach us. Power is intoxicating, but power is also has the ability to destroy you. Complete power corrupts absolutely. You know, that's very true. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And it will do that to you. And when you once you're corrupted, it corrupts your soul and all that. You become no longer human. You are lost, unfortunately, spiritually, mentally, physically as well. Uh, I would not want to be in that situation under any circumstances for anything. You know, I would not want to have the ability to turn into a werewolf if it cost me my soul, or the ability to turn into a vampire if it cost me my soul. Some people don't care about that, though. They foolishly think that it's something that they won't miss. But how can you miss such a big, intricate part of yourself and not feel that loss? That would be a terrible thing to think about. You're no longer really human. You're no longer part of the human race. You're lost. You're out there alone. And I want to tell you something. When evil gets you in that situation, it's not going to be there to back you up. It's not. That's going to let you dangle and hang until you hang yourself. Evil is good at giving you enough rope to hang yourself with. That's the way it operates. It wants you to do that. That's why you see a lot of these poor misled people who commit suicide and stuff. Evil gets them into that situation, right where it wants them, and then it gets them to do themselves in. That's the way it works. It's sad, and I know a lot of people that have gone that route, unfortunately. Some that I tried to save, but it was no good. Unfortunately, that's the way it goes. Some you win, some you don't. Some are too far gone. That's the sad part. You thought it was the real worm entering your eye. That is another theory about that one. Yeah. Well, if there is such a thing as the real worm, it would definitely be an invention of Satan. Okay. But according to those that know, that's where the real Black Eye Club comes from. It's not that worm getting in your eye. That comes actually, folks. That comes from the TV series The X Files. Okay. The Vril never had any worms. The Vril were more interested in philosophy than they were breeding worms to mind control people with black goo. A lot of that stuff comes from the X Files, okay, from Hollywood. I'm talking about the real folklore, the things that people really talked about. And you sign on the dotted line with Satan, you became his property. That's just the way he looked at it. And he could do whatever he wanted to with it, include slapping you in the face if he wanted to. Um, but that was his contempt for your kids. That's just the way supposedly that worked out. But if they are, and it would not surprise me that aliens, there are certain alien species who are working with these fallen angels and these demons and stuff to do certain things like this, mind control and all that. But why do they need to control your mind that much once they got your soul? They got you 100%, buddy. That's it. You are lost. That's the way that goes. So don't think you can foolishly sell your soul and you'll get it back. Some people have said that, oh, I'll get my soul back one day. What makes you think you're going to be able to do that? Huh? Well, once that thing is gone, you're gone too. And here's the bad thing about it, you don't want your soul back. You don't care for it anymore. You're on the wrong side forever. Reels about Hollywood con cult. Yeah, there's supposed to be a lot of that going on. Well, I'll tell you about some of that stuff, and that's a show for another time one night, and I have to get into that. But when it comes to clones and doppelgangers and vampires and all this stuff, they are looking for immortality, my friends, in all the wrong places. You know, remember that country song, "Looking for Love in All the Wrong Places"? They are looking for mortality. They are playing a God game. They are looking for immortality in all the wrong places, whether it be with robotics, whether it be with cloning, whether it be through Satan, alliances with Satan, demonic power, whatever it is, they're looking for that immortality because they are caught up in that web of deceit and lies that they think they've got to have their money and their power and their prestige, but they don't want to die and leave it all. They want that immortality. They want to become little penny ante gods. That's what they do. That's what they're looking for, the God game. And they're playing that any way they can play it. And that includes clones, getting in bed with aliens, whatever it takes. They don't care. These people are out for immortality. They want to live forever. But guess what? Here's the sad part. If they would only turn to God and trust in His Son, they will live forever. They wouldn't have to worry about any of all that stuff. They're going the wrong road, folks. They're taking the low ground when they need to take the high road. They're going the wrong way. If they would believe in God, God has promised us that He will give us eternal life. And it comes with no strings attached to it. You just got to believe. You believe in His name, and you have eternal life. What's so hard about that? You don't have to sign any contracts. You don't have to give up your soul and your humanity for it. They're going the wrong way. They're looking in all the wrong places and doing it the wrong way. If they really wanted to, but guess what? They have sold out to the power and the money and the darkness. Okay, that's what's happened to them. That's what happens when you connect with that darkness that's already in you, and the darkness of the world hooks up with that. It becomes an overwhelming darkness that takes you over completely. You don't want anything to do with God or Jesus or anything like that. You don't want anything to do with it. You're lost. The only real true hope you have, you've turned your back on it and walked away. That's what makes you a lost soul, my friends. That's how you sell your soul. You could sell out to the other side. You go over to the darkness, as they say in Star Wars. You go over to the dark side of the Force, or whatever you want to call it. And by the way, God is not just some unknown force out there in the universe doing things. God has a mentality. God loves. He is a creator. He is a thinking person. I mean, he is intelligent. He's not just some unnamed force that you can hook into. That is the wrong way. That's what they believe. And of course, they probably hooking it with a demonic force. Definitely, when you go that route. That's not real God, folks. Okay. If you're going to worship God and truly worship the real God, not the fake, false ones that all these people are giving to you. Do you believe that the entities that live in the fourth dimension are trying to capture a soul to ascend to the next level because they were shut out? No, I don't believe in reincarnation. Okay? The Bible clearly tells you this, my friend. It is appointed unto man once to die, and then the judgment. You don't have to worry about different levels of conscience and all this bunch of crap. Why did Jesus die on the cross? If that were true, and if you kept coming back time after time, your own different levels and all that, he would not have had to die on the cross for that. Don't you understand? You're blacklisting Jesus. You're canceling Jesus when you believe in that stuff. Don't you understand then? What's your choice, you know? I mean, I'm not here to judge you, and I'm not going to tell you one thing or the other and what you're doing is wrong. But to me, that's a very clear cut choice. You either accept Jesus or you cancel him, one or the other. But if you turn your back on the Son of God and walk away from him, you will become what we're talking about right now, a lost soul. You will succumb to the darkness. The darkness will eat you up alive. That's why the Bible says Satan goes about as a lion, seeking whom he may devour. He'll eat you up if you let him. Nope, God is not a recycling company. God is not in the business of making doormats either. God does not want life to treat us like doormats. Don't you understand that? That you got to wrap your mind around this. God's not wanting bad things for you. He's not trying to make it hard for you. He's not talking to you in secret code. He's out front like the good guys. Out front and honest with you, 110%. You don't have to have a book to study what God is. God will reveal himself to you if you let him. In the right ways, Be very careful, my friends. Everybody out there walking around saying God, 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 God is not talking about the God you think they're talking about. Don't you understand? Their God is Satan, the Lord of this world, the God of this world, the one that's got all the power, the money, and the prestige. Ask Diddy about it. He knows. Ask Epstein. He knows. Look where he's at. This is what evil will do to you, my friends. This is what the darkness wants. And everybody goes around saying God, 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 God is not going to enter the kingdom of heaven because they're not right. They're not talking about the real God. Jesus showed you the ultimate love. He died for you so that your sins could be forgiven, so that your sins could be washed away. That's how much he loved you. And if you rebuke that, if you turn your back on that, if you cancel that out, I feel sorry for you. You're on the wrong road, definitely the road to destruction. But you don't have to go down that road. You can change and go. You can come off of that road and go back to the light, to where you need to be. But you gotta want to. You gotta make that decision. Nobody else make it for you. You gotta make that decision yourself. But you know what? Think about the prodigal son. His daddy seen him coming from far off. His daddy run out to meet him. That's the way God is. God sees you coming, he will meet you. But you gotta start coming. You gotta start going towards him. That's the way that works. But you get caught up in all this new age mumbo jumbo things and all this other crap that they're doing this. They're seeding these philosophies in your mind to lead you away from the real truth, my friends. Don't fall for their bunch of lies. There's a pack of lies and deceit. That's all they deal with. Nothing but lies. That's their language. That's the way it works. But you got to be very careful when you deal with these philosophies, these demon philosophies and things like that. They're up to no good. They're up to lead you away from the real truth because you might have a chance of being saved. And they don't want that. They want to doom your soul to hell. They're going there and they want you to go with them. Don't you do that. That's the main thing to remember. Love, yeah, but the love of God conquers all. We got to remember the love of God, the love of money. The love of money is the root of all evil, the Bible says. But the love of God is where all real true love begins. The love that humanity truly needs was found there and nowhere else. Take this job and shove it. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, dragging good people to hell. They enjoy that. They're like a spiritual bomb going off. If you ever see what a terrorist bomb does to the inside school bus with a bunch of kids in it, you'll never forget. That's the mentality of these people. We're going and we're going to take as many of you with us as we can. You know, when a vampire goes out, when you kill a vampire, that's the moment they will try to take you with them. The moment they are going down in destruction, they will try to take you with them. That's just the way evil works, my friends. That's the way it goes. And I've seen evil spirits work that way too. I mean, let's be honest about it, okay? A lot of this stuff is demon related stuff, folks, okay? I mean, I hate to say that, but it is. A lot of it is very demonically related to the fallen angels, the Nephilim, and all that. Oh, I'm not going to get into that tonight, but that's what all this is relating back to, okay? If you want to know what its origin is, that's it. That's where it began. And it's kind of much like that. You remember the movie Ghost, with Patrick Swayze, At the end, remember those demons that would come up and drag the bad people to hell? But they never show what happened with the good people. Good people, the angels come to meet them, or maybe some of the people they know that went on before them come back to meet them and usher them in past the veil. I've seen that happen, folks. I've seen it happen. I don't want to be in the room when they come back to drag them to hell. That's a horrible thing to see. I've heard people talk about it. They say they'll be screaming and clawing at the floor and all that when they're dying and leaving this world. They see things and hear and smell things that we can't see because they're very close to the spiritual realm. They see these terrible things and they scream and they talk about the fire and all this stuff. And they are experiencing being drugged to hell. That is a terrible thing to even witness or think about, but it happens too. Don't like to talk about that part, but it does happen. We are going to see things unfold that other generations have prayed and asked to see. We're going to be, in a way, we're going to kind of be lucky, but unlucky too. We're going to see things happen that other people have wanted to see. I asked my grandmother one time, she was a very devout Christian woman. I said, Grandma, did you think, that Jesus is coming soon? She said, I don't know about that. My time may come before then. But we are 2,000 years sooner than before. And that's very true. We may not see the end. Some of us here may not see the end. I may not. Some others may not see the end. I don't really want to be here for the end. Thank you. Because it's going to be terrible. Very terrible thing. A very terrible time for people. It's going to be something you don't want to witness, definitely. But if you are where you need to be with God, you won't have to experience that. You won't have to go through it. Okay? You will go in the rapture. That's a wonderful thing to think about. But for those who are left behind, it's going to be terrible. It's going to be a terrible world. They can still be Christians. They can still be Christians, but they're going to pay for it with their lives, definitely. When they come to you and they say, either you with us or you're not, if you're not with us, then we cut your head off. You're going to have a terrible choice to make. Or if you don't take this mark, you're going to die. And your children are going to die. You got some terrible choices to make. Because if you take that mark, my friends, you are doomed. Double damned and doomed. That's it. There ain't no coming back from that. Once the devil puts his mark on you, you belong to him. Point blank. And then he'll do whatever with you he wants to do. You know? It's like that story I've told before about that preacher who was on the way to church one Sunday morning. And he passed this little boy sitting on the side of the street. And he had a cage and had a couple of birds in it, pretty little birds. And the preacher stopped and said, well, hey, son, what are you doing with those birds? And he said, I don't know. I hadn't decided what I'm going to do with them yet. And he said, well, if you thinking about it or what? He said, well, I may play with them a while. Then I may kill them, and wring their little necks off or whatever. They're my birds. I can do whatever I want to with them. And the preacher said, that's right. But what if I were to buy those birds from you? What if I paid you $5 for those birds? Would you sell them to me? And the boy said, yeah, heck yeah, I'll take him. So the preacher gives him $5. And he takes the birds on the church with him. And he sets the birds down up on the podium up there. And he said, I was going to preach a different sermon today, but I want to show you something. So I found this boy on the side of the road this morning, and he had these birds. He was going to kill these birds. He had them in a cage. He had them trapped in this cage. But he said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do right now. He said, these birds have been bought with a price. They're my birds now, and I'm going to turn them loose and let them go free. And that's what the preacher did. He opened the door, and the birds flew out and away. And the preacher said, you know, my friends, that's what God has done for us. He has opened the door to the cage. He's paid the price for us to live forever. Great sermon. And a very true story. Moondog says, I've been mistreated. I'm not afraid to die. Well, no matter what life has done to us, my friends, and some of us have been given some very bad shakes on life, there is a better world coming. That's the one thing we got to never lose hope for and never lose sight on. There is a better world coming. Immortality will be ours one day. Jesus has paid the price for it if we accept it. We will live with him forever. Never know pain or cold or hunger or sorrow again. There won't be any tears there, my friends. That's the thing to look forward to. The coming world, not the things of this world. Yeah, well, freedom, truth, they always come out in the end. God designed it that way. You know, a lot of people have been asking me here lately, saying, where are we getting all this soft disclosure coming in? I said, don't you understand? God's doing that. He's letting you know some of this stuff, little bit by little bit, so you can't throw it all on you one time. You wouldn't be able to take it in. He's letting you know a little bit. He's letting the truth come out, folks, for you. He's doing it for you. He doesn't have to do it. He already knows what the truth is, but he's doing it for you. And we're getting this truth a little bit at a time. And it maybe comes from different areas we never would thought was possible. But that is the way the hand of God works, my friends. Absolutely. That's the real woke thing, not the other crap that they're going. I'm not the real woke thing here. Is God is waking you up. That's where that's coming from. That's where that's happening. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the show tonight. And just like I said, if you didn't see that great show we did with Jessica earlier today, please check it out. And go there and give her channel some love, and give my good friend Gerald Fountain some love on his channel. Him and Shiro, the beautiful Jane. Jane is also known as Shiro. Please give them some love, and they also have a store. If you need to buy anything or anything, go check their store out, and also check out Jessica's store, War Warming Goods. I hear she has some anti-vampire stuff in there. Okay, somebody told me that today. You might want to go check that out. But anyway, go check that out. And also our good friend Heidi Pop, give her channel some love as well. And also my other good friend, Mr. Kenny Starfox, Lord Starfox. Please check his channel out. And I will be appearing on his channel very soon. We had some good discussions. And so be watching for that. And of course, my other dear friend, Chantel Mayberg. Please check her show out tomorrow, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Aquarius Rising Africa. Okay, don't miss it. We're going to be talking spiritual safety. You want to hear this, folks. You need to hear this. Spiritual safety is very, very important. Okay, so let's not neglect that. So that's tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and I will be back here Friday night, Lord willing, and the creeks don't rise. for paranormal point of view. Okay. And all that. So be looking for that. And we're going to get into some stuff on that. I hope you like this little talk tonight about the Appalachian witches. There's a lot more to them that I didn't get into, and we'll save that for another night because there's more legends of the Appalachians that we're going to talk about besides just the witches. We've got some other stories. I'm going to tell you about my hunt for the Wampus cat sometime. The Wampus cat is very interesting. A lot of legends in the Appalachians, and we're going to get into some of those definitely. So watch out for Spearfinger and all the rest of them, okay? And the Raven Mocker. That is the witch that other witches are scared of. The Raven Mocker. You don't want to mess with him. So be looking for that. We'll be talking about that some more too. And I appreciate you all, each and every single one of you. You are my shadow hunters. You are my wolf tribe. Okay? All right? All right. And don't you forget it. That means you're special. All right? And I will be dropping you some special videos very soon. So get ready for it. And Friday night, we will talk. I will share some more of my older cases with you and some stories on that. So we'll have a little story time Friday night. So be here for that. Be there or be square, okay? And we don't want to be square. We want to be round pegs in a round hole, okay? Absolutely. And but I appreciate you all so very much and your support. And like I say, we are lagging in a little support here. I don't know what's going on with that, but maybe we'll catch up. Maybe things are turning around. Hopefully they will. So go out and tell your friends more. Say, hey, you need to hook up with Hunting the Shadows channel on YouTube. That's why we're advertising now. We're calling it Hunting the Shadows channel, okay? Because it's got a lot of different things with it. Tell them if you'll just look up Hunting the Shadows channel on YouTube, Check it out. Check it out. Tell them about it. They need to hear some of this stuff. They need to know some things that's going on. Absolutely. I hope you like my little symposium. I might just go cook some supper with this while I'm here. Got it out. But anyway, we will talk some more about some other survivability things that we need to be talking about. So bear that in mind as well. But I want you to know I do absolutely appreciate each and every single one of you. I appreciate your support. It means a lot to me. It keeps me going, definitely. And I've been hitting some really rough, bumpy times here, folks. And you don't know how much you're helping me out. Okay, you really don't. And we got some bumpy times ahead, definitely. So we need to take care of each other. Absolutely, that's what we're here for. We're here to uplift and hold each other and take care and be concerned about each other and be family and be a wolf tribe. And that's why I love the wolves because they are the supreme family. You don't get much better than a wolf family or a wolf tribe. The American indigenous people call them the tribe, and they were like a people, like a tribe of people in many ways. And the wolf tribe is special, especially to me. It means we're family, unmistakable, unequivocal family, okay? And we don't ever want to lose sight of that. So I appreciate you all for being here tonight and for checking in with this old guy and listening to me prattle on. And I hope I did not bore you too much. And I appreciate you all for being here very much. Watch out for those vampires out there. I think Nick feels a little funny right there. I don't know what's going on with that. But anyway, be careful out there, and as Jessica says, keeping your head on a swivel. As I say, keep your eyes on your six, all right? And be very careful this weekend, too. So be careful out there and take care of yourselves so we get back together again, okay? And until we do, just remember, hold on to the light. Hold on to the light and hold the line. That's the main thing. We gotta hold that line against the darkness, okay? So walk in the light, hold the line, my friends, until we get back together again. Take care of yourselves. May God bless you all, and Godspeed. The hunt has begun. Hunting the shadows.